Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Life on Purpose virtual workshop.
Y'all. Once again, it's on purpose. Hope everybody's
We
doing today.
yes, we are excited. We have a special guest. Y'all can see her on here. Miss Cierra Davis is with us, and we're going to be talking about children's mental health. This is our first time talking about children's mental health out of all the workshops we've done. So we catered to our adults. We've talked about different things, but today we are going to be focused on our children and adolescents, which is so important, very important.
Very.
All righty, we're gonna do a little introduction. My name is Tangela Morris with Life on Purpose LLC. I'm gonna pull up our little it's not little, pull up our website with so you can meet us.
That be us right there.
Yes, that be us right there. I'm the licensed professional counselor. And then we have Miss Tiffany DeWalt, Mrs. Tiffany DeWalt, certified Christian life coach. We have been in business for quite some time. On our website, you can read our brief bios, let you know a little bit about us and what we do here in the Atlanta area, not just Atlanta, all over Georgia, because now virtual allows you to provide services in places that you don't have to drive to. So,
All right.
but I thought about this too because the topic today is on children and adolescent, and this is where we started. We started working with kids and young adults or adolescents as well. And I say young adults like 17, 18, 19. Um, and so this was way before we were working with adults. And so our background and our roots is with working with children. And we love the kids.
We love the kids. Kids today are a little different now, but
Mm-hmm.
but nonetheless, still love them. That's what they need. Love.
Lots of love, lots of love. And so now let me formally introduce you to Miss Cierra Davis. Let me pull your website up, girl. You got a whole website going on. There she go. There she go. This is Bloom Mental Health Services, building lives, overcoming obstacles, and mending minds. Woohoo! How long has Bloom been around? How long has Bloom been around?
Not too long. Actually, just starting off, just picking the private practice up off the ground. So it is still just started
Congratulations.
recently. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Congrats.
Miss
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So it
I
says
like.
here, look, I gotta read her bio. But
Okay.
it's read like she talking, y'all. But I'm gonna read it like I'm talking. So Miss Cierra is a licensed professional counselor who currently serves in the state of Georgia. She works with individuals and families as young as the age of 6 to adulthood. She has a passion for assisting others with building their lives and gaining resilience. She specializes in anxiety, grief, ADHD, depression, you go girl, PTSD, and mood disorders.
Right.
She say, look, book me for a consultation today. So we'll get a chance to learn a little bit more about her. What a hand claps. There we go. There we go.
Oh.
There we go.
Equipped yet. We just got earphones on. That's new for us. So. No hand clap. We have to do it ourselves.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to start with a little bit of icebreaker. So our icebreaker is just a Q&A. Each person gets a chance to answer the question. We're going to start with our special guest. I have two questions that are with our icebreaker. The first question is, what is your favorite ice cream?
Who are we talking to?
Did you hear it, Cierra?
I did not. It went in and out.
It went in and out. It froze
This
up a little bit.
technology.
Okay.
Random question. What is your favorite ice cream?
Ooh, Neapolitan.
Okay.
That's different types there. You like all of them as one.
Right, I'm indecisive. I should tell you that. I love all three flavors mixed.
Chocolate in the winter, vanilla in the spring, strawberry in the mix it together.
Yep, it's
And,
perfect.
That's how you know you was born before the 2000s, because I don't think these young people know about Neapolitan.
They don't,
Look,
probably don't.
we used
if
to
you
call
in the chat,
we used to call it Napoleon.
yep,
Yeah.
we was calling Napoleon. Look in the chat, if you are a young person and you've never had Neapolitan or Napoleon ice cream, please put it in the chat whether or not you had that ice cream.
We have it at my house too. That's our go-to because we have a family of 4, so it caters to everybody. You think you're catering to everyone, the person whose favorite is chocolate, but everybody gets every flavor every time.
That's what's up. That's what's up. What's your favorite ice cream, Tiffany?
Butter pecan, and it must be blueberry. I love pecan. You said my favorite. You put your tongue back in your mouth. But but yeah, butter pecan is my favorite. I love pecans. I love the pecan flavor and vanilla. Actually, it would be my base flavor. It's like, say if there's no pecan, vanilla would be my base flavor. And I love homemade vanilla. So if you mix the pecans with the homemade vanilla and it's bluebell, oh my goodness.
That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. So mine, okay. A restaurant whose ice cream machine is frequently broke down. That restaurant shall not be named because I don't want nobody coming after us. Has these sundaes, and the sundae you can get with the caramel and then the little what is it, peanuts or something. That is my favorite. But lactose intolerance will not allow me to have that ice cream. So there's a company that makes ice cream for those of us who, need to eat it. And they made a caramel swirl one that tastes just like it. So that is officially my favorite ice cream.
Okay. Caramel swirl. Add some pecans. Then
you could, or some peanuts. Either one.
Yeah,
I'm good on that. I'm good on that. Okay. Next question. What is one thing in your life that you have started but have not finished yet, and you just need to get back in there and finish it?
Ooh.
We can only name
just one.
Tail. Okay, so for me, I have a book that I haven't finished, but I think it's not writer's block. I think it's just to the point where it's like, okay, I'm on pause and I've got to live life a little bit more to get the rest of it, if you know what I mean. But, in my mind, it's like, you haven't finished that. So I was wondering if I'm missing something that where I'm supposed to be finishing it, or if I'm just supposed to just kind of live a little bit longer and like God's gonna give me the ending to this story. And it's like, oh yeah. And then I just start typing away and it's, boom, like one of those nights where you just finish it in one night. That's what.
Don't be blaming it on God because you ain't finished your book yet, girl.
Well, it's the information. It's like, okay, it's almost like you're waiting. You're doing a testimony that is, it's a testimony, but it's not completed yet. You're still waiting on the outcome, the ending of it. And like I said, it could just be me, but I'm looking for that aha moment where it's just type it out and it's done, because I'm not one of those that can. I spent 2 years writing this book. Like, I want to write mine overnight and be done. You. But it's a long time coming. So it's a book.
What you got, Cierra?
I had to say my candle business because I had to put that on hold. It's just a lot that I didn't realize going to candle making. Then it got real competitive. So I was like, I'm gonna put this on hold for a second to revamp all my scents and get the list going. And it's becoming a whole thing. And we have so many ideas that we have trying to put into it. We're like, we have to wait a second. Got a lot of other priorities coming in the way now.
Do you still have passion for it?
I definitely still have a passion for it. It's now just kind of a hobby. So we still have inventory. It's just trying to figure out how we're going to get that business back up and like booming. That's all.
Yes,
Gotcha.
told me like there's a resource fair coming up in April. So if you have some of those products readily available that you're ready, they're gonna need some vendors. That
Mm.
motivation to go to
Yes, yes. I need the motivation.
well, now I know I'm gonna reach out to you now and see if you have something ready in a month.
I think your phone keeps going in and out.
Okay, well,
Just a little bit, just a little. So you got to kind of slow down on when you talk because it's gonna go in and out.
so
But
I
since you
talk like this.
no, just wait till before you respond. So because when it's over talking, that's where it gets the breakage. Okay,
Mhm.
I was gonna share about this candle business. Now this might be your competition, but it's a good competition because these candles were the best, and I wish I could find how to order some more. But we met this lady at an event, Candle Envy, and they're um like a soft soy wax. So
Mhm.
oh my god, it's so good. It is so good. It is the best, and they last for hours too. So
Those
you
be the
want us to
best.
say that about your candle business,
I
don't
know,
get
I do,
encouraged.
I do.
Get
They have like
encouraged.
virtual prizes on here too. So, we will support the business and we like to do giveaways. So, hey, you gotta go to work. We got things to do.
Okay, my start, and I got a lot of them too. I'm probably got a laundry list. And those of you who in the chat, feel free, share what you have started, but you need to finish. You put it down. You decided, hey, I need to come back to this, but you ain't got back to it yet. So I have quite a few, but I will say, luckily, I don't have anything that is pressing. Those things are going to be finished in due timing. There was a year where I decided that I needed to get more grounded into finishing what I started. And that worked for me. Like I spent like a year from one birthday to the next, just really focusing on things that I started that I needed to finish. So that kind of gave me a boost to continue to complete things. But right now, and I probably the most pressing thing is there's a song that a verse that I'm writing in a song that we're doing, and I need to finish it. So I've been procrastinating on it a little bit. All right. So we're going to do a little discussion with you, Miss Sierra. We have some interview questions that we want to ask you, get your feedback and insight. We'll add a little bit on to ours as well. And then if you have some additional insight, please let us know. Now, I introduced you, but we didn't get a chance to allow you to introduce yourself. So before we go to the questions, can you just share with the audience a little bit about who you are?
Well, sure. Well, my name is Cierra Davis. I'm a licensed professional counselor. Currently, I serve in the state of Georgia. Just like Ms. Tangela said earlier about my business, that's kind of what I do now. Work passion. I do play therapy. I'm actually certified in play therapy as well. So I'm very passionate with children. Working with young children and adolescents is very, very fun. Watching their transition through life, helping them through different challenges and obstacles is just still a great passion of mine. And I love doing it every day. That's what I do now full time. So
How
Good. Can
cool.
yeah.
Fun. What
Can
you
you
do
tell
when
us
you
a
play?
little?
What
what was that?
what do you do when you're playing with the kids? Like play therapy.
I do different things. Sometimes we do like I let the child lead a lot, and we do like dollhouse things, and we play with puppets. We do Legos. My boys love the Nerf guns, different things. The rest of the play therapy comes into play sometimes, working through different challenges. And sometimes we use the dollhouse to even communicate how we feel and to act out different family conflicts, different things like that. And I also try to incorporate like art therapy with it too. So they'll do like splatter painting, drawing, all types of different things just to get them to find different ways and creative ways to express themselves.
Okay, so it's safe to say that Toys R Us was your favorite play place when you were a kid, huh?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Or
yes.
grow
My
up.
favorite child. I'm favorite child, little easy bake ovens and stuff. They have meaning to them now.
But I want to make sure that the audience knows that play therapy is not about play more than it is about the therapy part, because that can be easily missed, because parents hear play therapy and they're like, oh well, my therapist, all she do is play with them. But that's not it at all. There is
Right.
value in play therapy because kids express themselves through their imagination and through play. They're not going to always just right out tell you how they're feeling and what's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but you can definitely see it through their interaction with objects. They can tell a story, so play therapy has its value in children's mental health because it really does help them communicate in a way that adults don't communicate, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh yes.
Do you sometimes use a play therapy with adults? Can you use that with adults?
I use more art therapy with my adults.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I do play therapy. Sometimes it kind of helps. It just like a very different type of play therapy. I actually will use like board games, or we'll play Uno, and I would turn it into an emotional type of expressive type of game. And like every time we put down a certain card, you have to express yourself a certain type of way. And it build conversation, and like we'll do like memory things with Uno, and like sometimes I even had played somebody taught me spades and I turned it into a therapy game.
That's
And so I try to connect with my adults some type of way with play therapy. It can work with adults, and it kind of brings that inner child out a little bit.
yeah. I know Tangela and I, we do outside events once in a while, and we have these games, and when the adults participate, it's like a whole child comes out.
Oh yeah. Oh
Seems
yeah. It comes out.
like for a moment, not necessarily back to their childhood all the time, but more so just in a different space in the world than they're used to being in, what they call adulting now.
Yeah.
Good deal. So here's our first question. How would you describe the current state of children's mental health?
The current state, I would honestly say it's a little concerning in some areas. Just a little concerning. There's been a little increased rates in certain diagnoses, especially with like anxiety, depression, ADHD has been coming up a lot. And like trying to teach adults how to handle children through these different challenges have changed. And I honestly think it came from COVID times. It's been a very big shift, like loss of motivation. Now I can't go to school. I don't want to go to school. So many different things. So it's been very concerning in its current state to me, just from my perspective, seeing my children lately.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely been an increase in challenges with concerning mental health since COVID. The children had to deal with education and COVID and being home from school. Plus, a lot of kids didn't really fully understand the pandemic. They had to see people that they loved ones pass away. It was a lot that went into it. Even adults were still being impacted by it. Um, does that change how you approach mental health in your practice?
It does. I'm starting to learn that I have to actually teach parents how to meet their kids halfway. Because it's at the end of the day, we're trying to force them in things. A lot of things that they get from outside resources there's more influencing outside resources now for children. So I have to approach them differently. Like a lot of kids get a lot of their information and how their mindset should be from like TikTok videos or different things like that. And trying to do, I call it like TikTok Academy, where they coach themselves and learn different ways to handle mental health. And it's very different when I approach them. Like I might use a common TikTok and ask them how that relates to them. So I incorporate a lot of different ways to make it more just to meet them halfway with how they communicate themselves. So I definitely have changed a lot of how I interact with them.
Yeah, I know. I have two small children that we went through the pandemic with. One, it was in I think he was in first grade, now fourth, something like that. And the other, she was in fifth grade, and the isolation really took a toll on her because she was very social, loved people, very affectionate people, and not a people pleaser, but loved to please people. But then, there was times I would get a call from the counselor on virtual, and it's like, she says she wants to jump out the window. And I'm like, I know it's an expression, but, she was going through some things herself, being in their rooms for long periods of time. I mean, school is anywhere from 4 to 8 hours with them. If they had to go full time, they were alone with their teachers, or, some of them, the teachers were not as attentive, although they had to be logged on, So I definitely saw the difference in her, and where I had to begin showing her more affection, just to crank her back up, get the wheels going again once the pandemic was over, So I definitely.
Oh yes, I call it my huge reset button on life.
Facts.
Good.
Yeah, this
Reset.
is true. What about just common diagnosis that you see? What are some common diagnoses in children and adolescents that you see?
As of lately, I have been seeing a little of overdiagnosing of like ADHD, ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, and attention deficit disorder. It's been an increase in that I've noticed, especially from schools, and it's getting crossed with not telling the difference if this is like a loss of motivation, is this relating to ADHD diagnosis, or is it a depression? It's almost like we're overdiagnosing on one thing, but we're underdiagnosing on another, because it's two different stories I've been hearing. Like, the child's not focusing, they're not doing this in class, they're not doing that. So immediately it's like, oh, they're going to the counselor, IEP, ADHD. But when I come to me, I'm like, no, you're missing some things. They're actually depressed. They're isolating. There's a lot of different things there that I have noticed. So those are the two most common, outside of like anxiety, and social phobia has been real big as of lately with panic disorder.
Yes, panic disorder in adults as well. That's a
Oh
whole
yes.
thing.
That also has a lot to do with the combination of social media, um,
Mhm.
the TikTok university, where they're learning how to socialize with one another through cameras. So, when they get face to face in a classroom setting or a group setting, they don't know how to operate. They don't know how to get the attention. Whereas when you're on a camera, you have all of the attention that you can share. And there's no one, there's not as much feedback until comments come in. So I think that
Mhm.
combination of all of that it's almost like there's another name for it coming along at some point. It's
Oh
another
yeah.
like me in the massage therapy world, where when there's an overuse of certain muscles, I can tell the difference. I can tell if it's a military neck, they stood in formation a lot, or if they sat at computers a lot. And then, we began to see things when the cell phones and the tablets with people doing this, people literally come in, it's like, my thumb hurts. Well, if you've been doing this all day, video games, tablets, cell phones, and your thumbs are just twiddling away, you're overworking muscles. And so it's like there's new diagnoses coming, new ailments, new things coming about. So
Well, I think for children and adolescent mental health, interestingly enough, the CDC rated the most common diagnoses in ADHD was the most common, and then right up under that was anxiety, and then right up under that was depression. But what they did not identify as the most common, which I think needs to be looked at a little bit further, is PTSD.
Oh yes. Oh
mm-hmm,
yes.
A
mm-hmm,
lot of trauma is behind ADHD. A lot of trauma is behind anxiety, and a lot of trauma is behind
Mhm.
depression. And I'm not sure why that's overlooked.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
My theory with that, honestly, when it comes to like when list conversations with parents, and honestly, I try to coach parents through, like, don't knock yourself when you find out that it's not exactly what it is right now. A lot of parents don't really reflect back on the things that was going on, or don't want to reflect on things that possibly the child witnessed. They probably feel ashamed and things like that. They brush it off a little bit sometimes. From times I have talked to parents, they're just like, oh, like they've witnessed some things, but they don't see it as like, that develops a certain type of trauma for children when they are isolated in a home during COVID, and they're witnessing these different things. it can bring some type of trauma to them. And especially going through grief and loss over the past few years with COVID and things, I've seen that shift. I mean, prolonged grief disorder is now a serious disorder. And that's something that a lot of people overlook, is that yes, grief can be prolonged. It can go on for a couple of years, especially if they've never dealt with those emotions. And then it goes back to like, because childhood trauma, I mean, that can carry through lifetime if it's never approached, if it's never like talked about. And a lot of people don't realize it starts with them as a child and it gets overlooked. So other diagnoses do come on top of that.
Well, I noticed that a lot of people come in with these symptoms of ADHD, hyperactivity, lack of focus, poor concentration, fidgeting, and they're automatically diagnosed with ADHD. But nobody asks them, were they abused, or nobody asked them, did they witness some level of situation that caused some trauma. But then when you begin to ask them, then you begin to unravel, okay, ADHD might be on the surface.
That's the base.
But under that surface is some significant trauma that nobody even asked you about. Mama didn't even ask you about it. Daddy didn't ask you about it. Nobody. And so that right there, I think automatically, you tell me, Cierra, if this is true or not. Now in the mental health field, trauma assessing comes as a priority. You need to assess for trauma on the front end.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I do ask about past. I even ask about the abusive history, witnessing, what have you witnessed, even bullying. A lot of times bullying gets overlooked as that can be traumatic. I mean, there are times where children feel like they have to choke down feelings because they are taught that they have to just suck it up, don't do this, or you don't cry, try not to cry about it, you'll be okay. Like bullying is something that I've seen that's overlooked as like that could be a possible trauma. But yes, as a clinician, I make that a forefront. I have to ask about it, and I'll ask right in front of the parents. And I can tell when it's uncomfortable, but I let them know like these are conversations we have to have, because I have to know it's not just I'm not going to go just off a diagnosis you got from someone else. I'd rather just know for myself history. I just feel like that's very important to bring into the room, to know and clear everything out before just going off something that was given to them on a piece of paper.
I have a question, if I will. I always go back to scripture where it says to raise a child in the way that they should go and they'll never depart from it. I noticed that there's children that have problems, and we know that if they've been abused, specifically like directly been abused, that they can be affected. But do you guys find that some of these children might be picking up behavioral disabilities from their parents, meaning their parents don't have coping skills for things, so it's learned behavior on how to handle, like if a parent lashes out easily, then you have kids that lash out, but then when the kid is like, I'm an adult, I can lash out, but if a kid lashes out, now they got a mental health issue, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I believe that's true. I mean, learned behaviors can come. I mean, environmental behaviors. I mean, environmental stress can rub off on children, and they can learn how to do those, like I call unhealthy coping strategies. I mean, if you see a parent get upset, every time they get upset, they yell, they screaming at someone, that can rub off. And then that can travel to the child, and they think that's how they're supposed to handle things. I mean, just even talking to children and talking to adults, I can see, I see like how it works in both worlds. So it's like when I talk to adults, I'm like, that's something that you learn from your mom and learn from your dad. They'll think back and be like, I did used to watch that. I used to always think that's how we did it. I mean, even like as young as, for some reason I've seen lately, and I don't even know where it's coming from, but I've noticed it lately that it's getting younger and younger with children learning those behaviors of drugs and running out, sneaking out. Those things is coming in heavy lately. And it's even starting in the schools. It's just interesting.
Well, just wondering, when you say younger and younger, what age are we talking about?
As young, the youngest I have seen around is probably about 10. And that's with vaping, sneaking in the bathroom at school. And it's interesting how parents handle it now, and I'll try to coach them. It's very stressful. They don't know how to help them get out of it. But it's like these kids, they're getting easy with sneaking around, and I'm like, you got to ask the right type of questions. So
Mhm.
teaching parents how to ask those open-ended questions, how to help them feel comfortable. I mean, it's okay to be stern, but it's a thing of being overly stern. And then there's
Mhm.
those boundaries of gentle parenting and crossing the other boundary of being very strict parenting. There's a happy medium there. That's why we have to change our approach and show parents how to be as a clinician. This is how you have to relate to them on this type of level.
So do
Wow.
do you find that some of the parents might just need to be a little more, I guess, connected with their kids? Because I know, like we said, there's social media, there's the gaming, there's everything that they have to do, and I don't see a whole lot of homework as much as I used to back in the day. You know, I have an eighth grader, and she is just now telling me about a big essay that she has to do within 2 days, and I'm like, this is the first essay that I that you've had to come home and sit on the computer and do in a while. But what I try to do, I try to go to her room and sit and be, inquisitive about the things she's doing. If she's drawing, I'm like, oh, what are you drawing? Oh, this is really good. Just giving her affirmations about some of the things that she might be doing in her room. Where she's playing an instrument, I go in and say, oh, play that again. I heard you from the kitchen. Just beginning to have more interest in the children versus coming home, you go your way, I go mine. Everybody has their own agenda until it's bedtime, and we, Monday through Friday, this is what we do. On the weekends, you are a part of a football team, cheerleading squad or something. So where are you finding any of the parents are beginning to embrace their children a little more, or that you feel like there may be a disconnect with parents?
I feel like there was a disconnect, but I see it getting a little better. I see parents are starting to actually come to me more versus like trying to just send their child in the office and kind of leave. They'll come to me more and be like, can you just show me how can I communicate with them more? I feel like there's a disconnect. And it's I love to see when parents get that grasp and try to change that a little bit. I'm like, yes, it's your approach. Now I'm seeing your approach. You're making them turn away. Just let them vent, let them talk, and then ask open-ended questions. Do homework with them. Try to get in touch with the teachers because it's like it has been a small disconnect with, I would say, education. So I have heard that too from a lot of parents, like they don't have homework. They come home and go straight to the game. And I'm just like, well, we have to create some structure. We got to limit the game, limit some TV time. There was a lot of screen time during COVID, and I feel like that structure in the homes were kind of lost a little bit, and it just needs to be revamped of how we have that structure and how can we not make them feel like we're taking away this new hobby they have that they developed from this time period.
Yeah, I mean, during COVID, it's just like it seemed like it was a great time for families to come back together. And in fact, we said that that's what was happening. But now on the back end of everything, it seems like it's happened as strong as we felt like it was, as we thought that it was happening, that there was a battle there where, part of us felt like we were closer just because we were still in the same house 24/7, but not necessarily engaging with one another, in building a relationship. It was almost like for that 3-year period of heavy COVID that people just felt like it was a waiting period. We're just waiting for them to open the country back up. We're just waiting to go back to work. We're just waiting for this and not paying attention or giving attention to their home or their families, proper like quality attention to their families.
Oh yeah, I
Good. That's
agree.
good. So Miss Sierra, I got a personal question for you. Um, how long you been working with children and adolescents?
Ooh,
And that's
that's
and
a
that's not
good
the personal
question.
question. That's not the personal question, no.
Oh, that's not the personal question. I want to say with children and adolescents, I want to say probably until since 2017, 2016. That's when I first started working with them. I interned, yeah. And I
Okay,
just
seven,
kept
eight
pushing.
years. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now this is the personal question. What interests you in working with children and adolescents? Why children?
I've always said whenever I went into mental health, I always said that I've always wanted to know how to help these people, but I feel like it has something to do with the root. And when I think about root, I think about children.
Go on the back end and get them.
There's a slight
Think
pause.
about children with the me and the root. It's just like that's where I feel like a lot of did they go out a little bit?
Of course.
You back.
With like the children. Oh, I'm back. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I was saying like with the children as like roots, I just like that just made me jump into with children first because I felt like it's a little bit easier to help children, like help shape their future, help guide them through things and help them with those decisions, those challenges and obstacles that they may face as a child. Because I just felt like with working with adults, I wasn't too into it at first because I was like, okay, it's kind of hard. They already done went through things. I might run into a stubborn adult. I'm scared. So I was like, let me just run to my kids, my kiddos. They listen, they're easier to guide, and I can do so many creative ways and connect with children with like different ways, like doing the play therapy, helping them express themselves, helping them find a safe place as a young child, and helping them with that to help them grow up as a great adult and help them succeed.
That's good. That's good. What challenges do you have working with children and adolescents?
Mostly just I could say that the kitty stuff, like I could say like my adolescents, they can be challenging, like trying to connect with them because they get introduced to a lot of, in the TikTok world, they want to talk like that. So I have to talk to them in that language. So that was a little bit of a challenge, and just trying to have the child be open and be able to talk a little bit more about certain issues without the parent there. They just feel like they have to have them there, and then that's the way they let them talk for them. So it's been a challenge to have them separate from the parent. Like, no, I'm just an individual. I want you to be individual. I want you to express yourself. I don't need to hear mommy tell me how you feel. I don't want to know exactly how you feel. So it's like trying to connect with them on different ways has been a little challenging, but it's definitely getting better.
That's good.
Well, yeah, and in the past when I work with children, you get that child that don't want to talk in the beginning, and you have to kind of warm up to them, and they have to warm up to you, and you gotta. It's almost like a magician. You got to pull a rabbit out your hat and go through a back door and just do backflips, and then finally they want to talk. But I think sometimes that can be intimidating to people who work with children and adolescents. But getting them building that rapport and getting them to open up, once you do that, they have such a children, I think a lot of them, they have such a unique way of bonding and attaching in a good way, where they begin to trust you. And if you're a good therapist, and let me just tell y'all, Miss Cierra, I have seen her work. She is a phenomenal therapist for children and adolescents. Now, I haven't seen you work with adults, but I would not doubt that it would be the same. But I know you have a special place for the heart of children and adolescents. You have a way about them, way about connecting with them, and then also getting the parents to trust you as well. I have heard the streets be talking, girl. I have heard from people that I know that talk about you as their child's therapist. So kudos to you.
Awesome.
Yes.
So nice.
Good. That's awesome.
Let's talk a little bit about early childhood development and mental health. Early childhood development is like ages baby, newborn to maybe ages, I say 3 or 4, because usually traditional therapy is not going to likely be before age 4. 4 is pushing it because they got to be able to communicate. So most people, and I think your profile said you start from age 6. So most people really want to kick in like age 5 or 6. But early childhood development, those very, very sensitive years where they are learning to talk, they're learning to walk, they are learning attachment and bonding. I just want to hear, even from both of you guys, like what's some thoughts that come to mind when it comes to early childhood development and mental health?
I would say it honestly is so important to have those positive experiences in nurturing environments, because that makes a significant impact on the future well-being of children to me. Just being able to, be there for the children and make sure that they having those positive experiences as they're growing up, and, being there being present with them, being able to talk languages, different emotions and stuff, and trying to be able to help them develop those coping strategies and feel like they're loved, having that safe space is so important in early development. So they know that they feel safe, they can be open, they can feel love, and they know what that feels like. So as they grow older, they know exactly what home feels like almost.
It's a cozy place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I know we worked with young kids too, but we're talking about early kid development. So I would have to go back to my kids. That's my experience. But for me, I think a healthy balance of affection is one, because the kids don't have a lot of touch. They don't, they don't have a lot of touch like they used to. I mean, especially after the pandemic, everybody was instructed to be 6 feet apart. And so it's kind of like everybody's kind of getting closer again. But I just remember going to school and, elementary, even middle school, and some of the kids would give each other hugs in the morning, or, it was just it was a little affection. So I think a healthy balance of affection, high fives, affirmation, and also really listening to our kids, because I think that even though they're very little, they can still say a lot.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter, when she was little, she had, around 4 years old, had already expressed that she wanted to be, well, then she said an emergency room doctor, but she knew she wanted to be a doctor at that time. And so listening to her, I began to do things like birthdays, Christmas and things. It wasn't just some video games or just, other people bought her dolls. Me, I bought her chemistry sets. I bought her.
That's because she loved baby dolls. She was
She
just like
loved
her
baby
auntie.
So, but that the baby dolls, I would leave to other people to have the options. If they wanted to buy her gifts, that's what I told them. She likes this doll, she likes that doll, or something. But when it came to gifts from me, it was more about what it is that she said she wanted to be as, when she grew up. So I got her a chemistry set. I got her a little model doll that you can see the organs inside, and it had a little diagram where you can label the organ, teach her how to put them back in, just things that cater to her. I would buy her at that point. So I think paying attention to their interests. I mean, we do more paying attention dating someone, getting all the, their favorite colors and the favorite things they like to do, their favorite foods and everything, but we don't pay attention to that with our kids. Like like back in the day, our parents knew it's your favorite tonight, you know. But
So
yeah,
I wonder if there's potential. I don't know. This is just theory. Theoretically, if we could avoid some mental health diagnoses just from early childhood development, can we avoid the potential for ADHD? Can we avoid the potential for anxiety? Can we avoid the potential for depression? So I think in some ways, I won't, and maybe avoid might be a strong word, but I
well, you use
think
the word
maybe we can
potential,
nurture the opposite,
but you
nurture
use
the
the word
opposite of potential.
potential.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and just kind of teaching and training and spending time with children is so important. But see, we live in a world where a lot of parents don't get a chance to spend time with their kids. They're up early, but the time that they spend with their kids is enough to get them dressed for school, off to school, drop them off, then home late, 6, 7 o'clock, getting ready, food ready, and ready for bed. Where is the time?
Right. That's what I was just saying. Like, even on the weekends, now the kid is a part of some, a football team or a basketball team or cheerleading or something, and they're still not being nurtured by their parents, not sitting down and saying, I ask my daughter every day, how was your day? And she'll say, good. And I was it good or was it great? I want to know if you had a great day. I don't want you to just get used to telling me you had a good day, because everybody says, how was your day, Cierra? Oh, it was good. And that's when we first got on, right? But we don't necessarily know the ins and outs. You might have been in traffic for an hour and a half, or something. You might have got a bill in the mail that we're not going to know about. So we get our kids used to not telling us things, that we're used to just accepting. I had a good day, and that was it. But they might have their name on the board at school that they're not telling you about, and don't know how to tell you, because my name on the board means trouble. And if I was in trouble, now I'm going to be in trouble with you if I confess. So, I think you're right, Tangi. I think that I think it is possible for most kids, because again, it's almost like ADHD is like the base of it, is a base diagnosis, but there's something underlining that it could just be the way they're being raised. It might be a way that a parent is parenting, and so that's the hard part, is because now you as a therapist have to battle between the parent, what they're showing the kid at home, and you may not know what's being said or how something is being done, and that's what you're battling. And it's not stopping at home, and you're teaching, but it's not stopping here, and it becomes a whole diagnosis. And is it just the way the child is being raised?
Well, I think some indicators that parents use to kind of help them from their understanding is they'll compare their children. Well, I got 3 kids and 2 of them don't act like this, but one of them do. So something might be wrong with the one that does, whereas he or she may learn different than the other 2, may not be interested in the same things, maybe you had your child in 2 different decades where generational gaps begin to happen in era. So maybe you have a 2-year-old and you're trying to compare your 2-year-old to your 12-year-old or your 15-year-old, and so you have to be mindful of that. And I hope, the parents that are listening, we're definitely not criticizing parents, because I think that that's just it's beyond a job. That's
right.
Just a thing in itself that is it's a lot of hard work, and I applaud all of the parents that are in there just trying and consistently trying to make sure that their kids are okay. But we also live but we also live in a different age where there is definitely some gaps between the parents and the children. The parent we cannot relate. I'm consistently seeing on social media where people in my age group are like, well, gone are the days of this, and back in the day that. But so that tells me automatically there is no way we can put ourselves in the shoes of some of our young people. We can really.
I was going to say, with my daughter, I always tell her, I'm like, look, we're actually on the other side of the beginning, I would say, of a new era that none of us have experienced. This is like, I tell my daughter that. I tell her, I say, this is something none of us have experienced. We are all learning new things all together at one time. And so she's now, I tell her now, this is what your family is about. We're going to get through this together. We don't know what's going to happen on the other side. We don't know what we're walking into. We know scripturally what's happening, but how it looks doesn't necessarily look how we expected it to look, and how things are going is not necessarily how we expected it to go. But we're here together to get through this together, and to help try to keep her on the trajectory of going up and doing well, and focusing on her success, for when she becomes an adult, goes off to college and all of that. But we're all learning this whole new system, a whole new era, and it's continuously changing, and it's going to be changing for quite some time, because we got our new friends coming over the border. So language barriers are going to be a factor. We're going to, be living in a community where, I know in the Black community, we're used to living with each other. We're going to start seeing more different faces coming around, at some point. So it's definitely something I think that parents have to be mindful that we are all learning new life together. How your kids receive it is not received it too.
And I was going to say too, and Cierra, I would like for you to respond after I say this, just to give us your thoughts. But I think also, we don't highlight our children like we should in their generation. We look so heavily sometimes on the things that are not going well, particularly pertaining to mental health, because mental health is on the rise and increasing. Sometimes it's hard; it overshadows the good things that's going on with our children. We have some geniuses, we have some brilliant minded, we have some creatives. We have some that we're like, I don't know how you did what you did, but you did it, and this is amazing. Like, do you see that in your practice, like in the midst of the struggle, in the midst of the trauma, in the midst in the midst of the trauma, in the midst of the ADHD, what do you see?
definitely see a lot. I actually see a lot of independence coming up with children that's not being recognized. And I even told a parent it felt powerful to them in the moment when I told them, you need to slow down and be present and recognize where they at right now.
I
And
like
let's
that.
highlight that together.
I like the way you
I
put
was,
that.
yeah, because it's like I was like, put a pause button on things. I was like, your child needs you to recognize everything that they're accomplishing. They're 17, about to go through college. I mean, that's a huge thing now I get lately. A lot of children that struggle with ADHD since they were young, but they are like 17, about to go to EMT school next year. And I'm like, do y'all not realize what they just said? Like, you're putting all this pressure. I mean, y'all realize that when you feel overwhelmed, you know what that feels like? They're doing so much. Just recognize it before they feel like this is just a chore without any recognition. Don't make something their passion turn into a chore. Keep their passion on fire by enlightening them, showing that, oh, you're doing such a great job. I was like, it's okay to show those affirmations.
Girl,
Be good with them.
You need to rewind that and then quote that, because that was really good. Do not make their passion a chore.
Chore. Mm-mm. Keep their passion on fire.
That is amazing right there. I like that. I had to process that in my brain.
Yeah, because I mean, I have to remind parents, and one thing I do love to remind parents is that when they get all say, "Oh, they should know this. They know better. They should know better." I was like, well, you know what? They probably just haven't learned that yet, and you haven't either. You haven't learned how they are now. We're learning together as a unit. This is a new emotion that you don't know much about. It probably is emotion you choke down that you don't know how to bring up. You just haven't learned how to deal with your own emotion yet, and they haven't learned yet. So we learn it together.
Oh, she just hit another nerve, girl. She said it's probably something that you have suppressed. And I hope y'all listening in the chats. You might have suppressed, and you suppressed it so much that you don't even recognize it in your own child. And that goes back to what you asked earlier, Tiffany. You asked the question earlier about, do we see some trends from our parents to our children? Absolutely we do. But we don't recognize it because we suppressed it.
That's right. Well,
girl, that'll preach. No.
Suppression. I mean, think about it. When they're little children and they say their first word, they start walking, they do all of these new things, and it's big girl, big boy, you did it. All right. And then not only that, you got to show every other adult that walks through your front door. You have to record it on video and put it on social media. It's continuous. I said my first word, but I'm going to hear about that first word over the next 2 months. Whereas school, and they've done well in school, and we say, good job, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade is good job, you did it. Oh, so-and-so's got an award. The whole family shows up to the award ceremony. They got AB honor roll, and then we're going to have cake and ice cream afterwards, and a whole dinner and a gathering and everything. And then third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade comes, and all of that kind of gets quiet. And it's, did you do your homework? What's this B on this? And what's this, what did you do on that? Why did this happen? Why did that? And then the phone calls from school comes, starts coming and things. And so it's like the kid gets lost in, am I doing well? Am I doing good? Hey, I'm here.
That's where that anxiety comes in at.
Yep.
Look what I can do. And they start doing weird things just to get some type of acknowledgement from you. And it's just the way that we were all raised. By the time you're 6, 8, 10 years old, it's not big girl anymore, so get lost and want those things and start acting out in ways to gain the attention, but we always end up with negative attention. And you get into more trouble on top of you're confused that, wait a minute, I was the big girl, I was the good girl, and now I'm always sent to my room. I'm always on.
It sends a wrong message. Yeah. Which brings me to my last question, my last formal question, related to children's mental health is, what are some things that we could be doing better concerning our children?
Get your kids. Get them.
I honestly think that one thing for sure over the past year just some talks with my kids, especially with school. I think there needs to be a better integration of mental health in the school systems, to be honest. And I just feel like that would be something to help the children up front. I mean, because I have my children, they be coming up to me asking me so many different things about about emotions, about just how to deal with different things. Young kids will getting curious easily, getting very curious, sneaky. There's a lot of different things. They're trying to find out so many things that they possibly could figure out in school or feel comfortable going to their school counselor about sometimes that's related to school things like bullying in the school, cyberbullying, dealing with social aspect in schools. How do we socialize? Trying to do more promoting of mental health in schools, I feel like will help children realize that, this is a safe space. You can talk about your mental health. You can talk about different things. So I think there needs to be just a better education, integration of mental health education in schools.
They're working on it. I don't know. I think they kind of going in blindly with it, but I see it happening. It's just still like a little divide or something missing about it. And I think it's training. I just think it's training.
I also think that it's fear of what you say to other people's kids.
Yeah. Kids are a liability. They can.
Well, let me tell you, for instance, my daughter was in second grade when the elections were going, and this was with Trump and Hillary back then. And I remember going to her school to pick her up, and I saw in the hallway loads of pictures of Hillary, like they've written little paragraphs about her. Some of them colored the picture. It was a whole bunch of pictures of Hillary. And I'm not saying I was for Hillary or for Trump. It's not about that, but I know that it's leading, if you get what I'm saying. It's almost like they're leading them towards a certain way. But I do recall when she came home, the day that they announced that Trump was going to be president, she was in the second grade. She runs in the house and said, "We're going to be slaves again," and ran in the house and jumped on the bed. And I'm like, okay, y'all not teaching them the right, thing. And so I was going to ask Cierra to break it down into 3 modes, which is elementary, middle, and high school. And the reason I was going to say to break it down is because I think some things are not being said to our young boys in middle, and I think should start in middle school, but you can correct me and you can, add to it or take away or change it, whatever you feel. But they don't hear things like stealing is not okay. Killing one another or shooting one another is not okay. You as a young person drinking and doing drugs, that's not okay. They don't get to hear someone blatantly say, this is not okay. Everything it gets formal with them. They get pamphlets or something sometimes if you have a school that's really attentive about it, but they don't get that, literally, this is not okay. It's just not okay and they don't hear that. And so we've seen an influx. I don't know if y'all saw this on the news just yesterday. These guys pulled up on 8 students at a bus stop and just started opening fire. Shot 8 kids. Jeez. One of them is in critical condition. So it's not okay to shoot one another. This is not like video games. This is your life. They don't hear that hard stuff,
So what's the question for Cierra?
Well, I was going to say, you were saying that overall, what can be, what's missing out of the schools, what's missing out, because I know each, level to this is different. Elementary school is kind of a formative years. It's knowing how to raise your hand to go to the bathroom or talk or answer the question. It's, learning how to walk in a single file line, which that goes out the window by high school. But, it is educational, and you're learning the basics in elementary school, but it's also in behavioral. You see the kids walk in a single file line and they have to be quiet in the hallway, or there's, but by the time they get to middle school, it's not so much like that anymore. There's a, it's like, okay, everything we learn for discipline is different when we get to middle school, but then you're not reinforcing that discipline, what is actually going on out here in the world, which is these kids are ending up on drugs, vaping, killing one another, and lashing out at their parents. Not like, why do we have hundreds of high school students that know and are allowed to gather in downtown streets, at one time, causing problems? Because see, to me, it's like, it's they say it starts at home, and we're talking about children, and we're borderline, don't want to cross over into talking about the adults and the parents, because we're talking about children. But these kids are allowed to go out of the house and be downtown with 300 other kids, tearing things up, terrorizing other people, and so on and so forth. How do we get to a point where it's okay for them to be at a birthday party for somebody turning 16, 17, or 18 years old, and you got 100 kids at a house party, and now there's a shootout and 3 kids are dead? Because we're not talking about kids that's just, they're fighting in the street, but we're not talking about just fighting. They're like taking each other's lives. So something has to happen at the elementary school level, the middle school level, and ultimately the high school level. That, like you said, Tangela, something is missing. Something is not being said, and it's not. And if they're saying it, softly. What it was a word for it, and I think one of you used it earlier. Soft parenting or something.
Gentle parenting.
Parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So gentle parenting. Now your kid's out here and your little girl dead on her birthday because you was being gentle. It was okay.
Well, wait a minute, because I don't know if gentle parenting is a bad thing.
I'm not a bad thing. What I'm saying is has it become the only thing? Because are these kids getting?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think they're being. I think the type of kids you're talking about are the kids that likely are not being parented at all.
Well, but my thing is,
it's got to be a significant absence in parenting, whether it's gentle parenting or parenting at all. Like and I know I'm making a big assumption, but you're talking about things that are missing. So let's circle it back around to mental health, where these kids' mindsets have to be. And like you said, early childhood development. Like, what are we? The original question is like, what can we do better? As parents,
destigmatize the conversations around mental health. Really, I mean,
there you go. Yeah,
those are conversations that are very tough to have. But every time I tell a parent, they don't want to sit here and hear their child talk about they might want to harm themselves, or they feel like they just want to go and I want to go and shoot my bullies, or I'm almost like, these are conversations that we don't want to have, that we need to have. We have to destigmatize those conversations in order to get over that obstacle of mental health being the big elephant in the room, because it's technically not the big elephant in the room. We have to bring that down to a different level and help them understand, like, you can come talk to me. What's going on with this anger? You probably saw me do that back in the day. I don't want you to think that that's the right way to handle anger. Let's think of other ways we can handle anger. Let's try to do other things. That's why I always try to stress to parents, these conversations don't need to start just at home. I mean, if they having conversations at school and you're not having those conversations at home, it has to be connected somehow. I mean, if they having things at school, they need to have a safe space at school. And I feel like that's what's lacking at schools, is that they're not having those type of conversations like that, where they're able to talk about mental health or talk about common things about anxiety, common things about depression. Because I mean, children actually learn how to self-harm sometimes from their friends at school because they don't know how to deal with depression.
That part. So they may be learning how to access safety from an active shooter, but they're not learning about just not shooting each other.
Right.
Sometimes that active shooter is another high schooler kind of thing, right?
That's exactly what I was saying right there. Like, they're not hearing the hard thing. Like, if I know that a high school gathering, like today's kid, it's dangerous for all those kids to get together. There's always those one or two kids either in gangs or they are, subject to be jealous of other kids. And that'll be that one kid that brings the gun to the party. And so as a parent, there's, like you said, there's gentle parenting and then there's tough love. So as a, when you have the two options there, and I say, my kid says, hey, I want to go to my friend's birthday party this weekend, okay, is this like a big party, a big to do, everybody in the school going to be there? Because some parents open the door wide open. Is it going to be gentle? Do I go with gentle parenting, or do I go with the tough love on today's, in today's time? Because ultimately, I remember when I wanted to do something and my mom told me no, and it was something that everybody else got to do. And, the response back then was always, well, if this person jump off the bridge, are you going to jump off with them?
We have to find a healthy balance. I mean, somewhere between gentle parenting and tough love.
Right.
It can't be too far on one end and too far on the other. You got to find a medium. And I think at the end of the day, parents have to stop being afraid of being parents.
Right.
Stop being afraid of being parents. Right. You're so afraid to actually parent. You're so afraid, there's a scripture that says open rebuke is better than hidden love. I'd rather tell you that you're wrong than hide my love for you.
Right.
And I know that it sounds crazy. I had to read that over and over again, but it's basically saying correct people in love.
Correct them.
Correct your children in love. You ain't got to abuse them. You ain't got to abuse them.
What's the scripture about?
And you ain't got to be too soft on them.
What's
he or she may cry a little bit and be all extra sensitive because, they're a little different emotionally, but don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
They'll appreciate it better.
Because ultimately did it in love. Ultimately, that there was something that you were doing that was meant for the best. And so, you can't beat yourself up when you're trying to do the best for your kids, for your child. You can't beat yourself up for that. Just, things don't always work out in our favor, how we expect them to, but we definitely can't beat ourselves up if we're correcting our kids in love. And I think that that's part of, of what is going on, because I recall when we were doing the young girls group way back when, this is early 2000s, and we would go and pick the kids up to come to group meetings. And I recall picking a little girl who was coming to the very first, her very first meeting, and her mom has agreed to allow her to go. There's usually a permission slip for them to come, if the parent has to sign. And when I would go to pick the little girl up, the little girl would run out of the house and hop in my car, and her mom hadn't even come to the door to see what kind of car she's gotten in, what my face looks like, get my tag number, and I'm going to talk to your child about life. Come to a meeting and see how we teach, and how we do our workshops. Come and see. That's one of the biggest problems I saw. You didn't even come. My mom's, she gonna be mad because she watching her show. I'm sorry your show is on, but I have your child. I have your child in the backseat of my car, and I'm taking them somewhere to talk about life. You're worried about a TV show. And so I think that more being present, I think one of y'all used that, I think it was you, Cierra, said that parents have to be more present in their children's lives, and you have to fight to be present. That means your job, I'm sorry, but what's gonna be first, your job or your kid, because they're suffering.
Very true.
Well, yes. Yes.
And I didn't like that. I would tell them, go back in, tell your mom to come out and say hi. And I say, hi, my name is Tiffany, and my last name, and let them see my face. Let them have the opportunity to write down a make, model, and a tag number for this car their daughter is getting into, know my voice if you heard it, at least. Something. Don't just let them go. And I know that because I experienced that back then, I know that happens today. Just go to the party. Oh, my friend's having a party and me and so-and-so are going. Oh, okay. Y'all just be careful. You don't know the house that they're at, what the house color is, the parents that are throwing this party. You don't know the child that they're throwing a party for, who could be the popular hothead in the school, because they do follow kids. They follow other kids' lead. So the leader got a big party going. And now you're wondering why the news, the police, the ambulance, and funerals are all involved in the situation. So I think that being more present, and and it begins in early childhood development, like you said. Be present best you can. Whatever job you get, we have to work around their schedule, right? So we're gonna have to work around being present as well. That's just, we just got to learn how to work around that too.
We gonna have to roll into a part 2 one day. So
I know.
because I see
So
Tiffany is very
right.
passionate. Yes, and I get it. I get it. We have to talk about our children. I'm glad. That's why we're so excited that this topic is held today, because this is just a overview more than anything. It's so much to really, really dig into regarding children's mental health. So we're gonna get ready to wrap up. But I wanted to ask you 2 questions. Because you do work in this environment where it's a lot of heavy stuff, right? You work in this environment where you, if you're not careful, you have potential to take home some of the things that you hear and see and witness and experience. So what keeps you motivated, and then what do you do for self-care?
So what keeps me motivated is just the outcomes, remembering the outcomes, being proud, and just giving myself my own type of affirmations about how far I've came as a children therapist and how I've helped other children grow. And then, way later on down the line, I get a kid that I had that was probably like 9 years old calling me at like 17, hey, I made it into college. And I'm just like, what? Like, I'm excited, I'm happy. Because back then you didn't think that you didn't want to say you want to get there. Like, you had doubts in yourself. So hearing those outcome stories and being able to reflect back on things that I've helping children overcome suicide things, like those are things that really have helped me grow and helped me stay motivated with being with children. What was the second part of that question?
What do you do for self-care?
For self-care, I am very heavy. I've actually gotten a lot better. I know Ms. Tangela, you know me from back then. My self-care was all over the place. It's got so much better. I actually de-stress. I make sure I take my long drive home because I do work hybrid. So I am at the office twice a week and at home twice a week. So I make sure I go outside, get some sun. I try to de-stress. I try to go ahead, and I have my own therapist. So I definitely be able to express myself, get a lot of things that's personally going on off my plate and talk to someone about it. But I'm also taking care of myself, trying to do different things. Like at the office, I prepare myself with like meditation. I make sure I have my coffee. I make sure I'm talking to family members. I always have to call my mom when I go in the office. It's a thing. It helps me like get my mind focused. She's always been my biggest motivator with me being in the mental health field. She's always had my back. So having her, talking to her every time I have to go in the office or I had a tough day, she's my go-to. So I really do try to make all that upfront to take care of myself.
Good.
I got one more question, because you just you hit something and I meant to bring up. That you have your own therapist.
So important.
And my daughter's now 14. She's had a therapist for about a year now. And I just thought, you know what? I think in today's age that pretty much any middle school, like starting in middle school, that all the kids should have some type of counselor. Regardless of what, there's no diagnosis. It's, everything is, but I think that today that all the kids should have, it's almost just like they need food. I think all the kids need some type of counselor, somebody that they can talk to and unpack, what's going on in their life weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or whatever the case. But what do you think about that? Do you think that a kid should have counselors regardless?
I believe so. I mean, I always like to talk to children about life transitions. I think that's important. Parents don't realize like children transitioning from elementary to middle school. Now it's a lot of different things they're going through. Sometimes that might be overwhelming challenges, stress that they don't want to talk about. I think it's important, especially with middle schoolers, there's a lot of changes. They're going through puberty. Some kids are going through different things with trying to understand their bodies. And those questions come up if a parent is not able to, have that support or know how to actually approach those type of conversations. I think it's good to have a therapist to talk to, because we do talk about life transitions. We do talk about different things with adjustments in life. I mean, those are definite things that we can work on in therapy. So I highly suggest therapy to help, especially if you're not able or you don't feel like you might need an outside help as a parent to help your child through things. I think it's good to have the outside resource.
Yeah, I just think
Good.
I also have one now. I mean, with my daughter, she's getting ready to graduate middle school, and I know she's going to the school of her choice. She chose the school over a year ago, and her friends didn't, they didn't get a chance to make it into the school. So she's definitely going to be doing a life-changing thing, and she's been in school with these kids. She's in 8th grade now. She's been in school with them since kindergarten. And so that's a huge change. And I, even now, I just think that kids just need that. They need to give them, parents need somebody to give them backup. I know it's a lot of single mothers out there. They need that backup as well. For somebody, affirm some of the teachings have with
That could
their
be
kids.
that could be a pro or a con, just as long as the single parents know their boundaries, especially when they
Yeah.
the male therapist, because we've seen some things.
Oh,
But I would say advocate for your therapist. Hit up your
Yes.
local government,
yeah.
because we
That's
need
what
more support too in order to have more therapists available. Because therapists, certain things like student loans need to be paid for on our behalf. Certain things like other advocacies, and I mean, I wouldn't mind getting a free meal from somewhere just because I'm a therapist. Let me be a first responder too.
just like the
All
military
right.
Yes,
discount.
let me get a discount. So
I'm a true believer in that. Just today, it's just what's going on today. We need that next part. That what's that non-biased or unbiased, and that person who is outside of the family realm. Because I noticed that a lot of the things that the therapist shares with her is going to be the same things that I share with her. But sometimes just to have that confirmation, because what are they doing? If they're not going to their parents, like you said, they go to TikTok University.
and for children and adolescents, there's always an opportunity for family therapy as well, where they can join in with their parents and be able to express themselves in a safer environment where maybe they're not comfortable. So I agree.
Family counselors
I
would be
love family
that's
therapy.
it.
It's great.
Family big one. I think that's even better than just having the individual counselor for the kid.
Now I didn't had some rough family therapy sessions, so I'm like, okay, now
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
see. I don't know what y'all gonna do when I leave, because y'all about to go to war. But it takes a good therapist to kind of stand their ground and get some order and some structure in there, and then be able to help them process and really,
Yeah.
be willing to listen to each other. So
Right.
all right, we got to wrap up. We got to wrap up. We got to wrap up. Like I said, we can go on all day about this topic, which is
Sure
great.
could. One more question. No, I'm just kidding.
I wanted to share some resources. Let's see what we got. Can y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
That is the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, which is a really good resource for childhood trauma. It's got a lot of resources on the site. They also have some trainings for therapists that may want to provide trauma informed care, or the traditional trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy, which I think is important. Let's see what else we got. I gotta figure out how to move this thing. Um, there we go. Move that down. Some resources on Amazon. The Mental Health Workbook, 6 books in one. I would not recommend doing this outside of a therapist. Have a therapist with you if you decide to buy this. Sometimes people see a lot of stuff online and they try to do it on their own. I just don't recommend it. I recommend having a professional that can help you, because some things you may not know on your own. But this is a good workbook. And then we also have the child and adolescent mental health, a practice all in one guide. And so this is more so for the therapist, or for maybe somebody to get a better understanding of child and adolescent mental health. We also have some resources on our site. Sierra, this website might look a little familiar. This is our resource site where we have worksheets, and access to other information, videos, self care, and other recommendations that you guys can use on. So if you go to our website, irepresentlife.com, there's a link to access this, and you can download free worksheets. You can download other information that may be supportive of children. This is not just for children, it's for adults too. but also, you know, for children and adolescent mental health, which is really good. Okay.
Good
Okay.
stuff.
Okay. Okay. Let me stop share. There we go. Any last words, Miss Sierra? Any last words?
Um, Well, I would just like to let everyone know out there that you are all amazing parents, parents that are watching. Y'all are definitely always amazing parents. Don't be too hard on yourself. Just realize that some things you just haven't learned it yet and be patient with yourself because that patience goes a long way. And just know that reflects into your child's brain. Your brain, the brain of a child is like a sponge, so they absorb it. So just be careful but cautious, but love on them as much as you can.
That's good. And how can they get in contact with you?
Oh, well, you can go to my website, which you had up there earlier, on that website. But you also can go to actually message me. I have an email. I think you have that. I send you the email. Did I get that to you?
I don't remember getting the email, but you might have. You
I
can say
probably
it.
have. Oh, but I do have an email address that y'all can email me at. I also have a phone number. You want me to say my phone number? That might be easier.
You can say it. Are you comfortable saying it on the either that or maybe we can put it in a live chat?
Oh yeah, we can put it in the live chat. Yeah, that's fine. Do you want me to put it in the chat?
Well,
If people watch the video later, they won't get the phone number from the live chat. So
Oh, I thought you said you want me to put it in the chat to you right now. No, but my
oh no
number,
no.
oh no.
my business number, you can always send me a message. I do free consultation services. It's just like a 15-minute call to see if you're a good fit. But my number is 404-530-9252. That is my business number. You can send me a message there. And I also have an email address, but it's also on that website that you had shared earlier, Miss Tangela, my Bloom Mental Health Services, LLC.
Are you
.net.
on social media? Because you know some people do like to access services through social media.
Yes, I am. I do have my Instagram. You can also DM me there. I am open to that. I love that. I actually had started that recently, accepting that. But yes, you can find me on Instagram. It's Bloom LLC _. That is my page, and you'll be able to check it out. I'm trying to get back on being consistent with the posting and everything, but it's on there with Instagram. So you can reach out to me on there as well. And my website is on my bio in there too.
Okay. And what services do you offer?
I do individual and family services at this time. I'm only virtual right now, but yeah, I do with individuals and families from ages 6 to
I
adulthood.
can't hear. I don't know what happened.
Oh, can you hear me?
Now it's low. I don't know what happened.
You can keep going. We got to keep going.
Oh yeah. But yeah, that's what I say. I do individuals and families.
Okay.
Oh, so you got anxiety, depression, trauma, grief, PTSD, ADHD, communication issues, bullying, coping skills, college mental health. College mental health, interesting. Family conflict,
Yes.
life coaching, life transitions, fears, phobias, mindfulness, panic disorder, self esteem, suicidal ideation, women's issues, stress, and perfectionism. That's good. All right. And then here's her information as far as fees and things like that. Consultation is free, which is really good. And do you accept insurances?
Not at this time. Right now I'm only self-pay, but in the future I am looking into some private, some commercial insurances.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay.
Mhm.
Mhm. All
And
right.
we are Life on Purpose LLC. I represent life.com from no purpose to life on purpose. You can reach us on our website, and on our website, we got all our information. Um, and we are on Instagram, and this video is going to be on our YouTube at Life on Purpose LLC. And so if you don't catch the live premiere, you can always play it back, and then we'll link it to our website, which I can show real quick that we have past workshops that we've done in the past on our website under workshop recaps. So you can go to some of our past workshops on there as well.
Yes, Miss
Okay.
Sierra.
Miss Tiffany, any last words in
I was
60
gonna say,
seconds
Sierra,
or
you see
or
those
less?
workshops. If you need them, you can use them. Those are resources for you too.
Appreciate it,
But
love them.
No, honestly, I appreciate the conversation because it's a huge topic of today. And like I said, I just saw on the news where all those kids were shot recently. So I'm like, okay, these kids, they need some help out here. They're screaming for some help. And so I really appreciate Cierra for coming on and sharing with us her experience with working with the adolescents. And I look forward to a part 2 because I saw, we were getting ready to get into some things and I don't quite know where we were headed with it. It was about mental health, but it was also about the behavioral health of some of our kids and being, some of them being lost out there. So I just, I hope for a part 2.
All righty. Hopefully, Sierra, you'll be available for a part 2. See, she
Oh,
don't want
yes.
me to tell y'all, but she getting married, so
Oh,
she might not be
okay.
as
Look, she
available.
said.
She might not be as available as we think
Hey,
she is in the near future. So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay.
yes, life
That's a big one too.
transitions,
We're gonna do that topic next. We're gonna get our newlyweds and marry
marriage,
like
and mental health. There we go.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yes. I
What
mean, like we got another friend that's getting married in June. And so it's a lot. It's a lot of people getting married, y'all. It's a lot. I guess I'm happy. It's wedding season coming up
what did they
too.
say? If he like it, he should have put a ring on it. There you go. There you
Mm-hmm.
go.
Oh girl, he liked it.
He put a ring on the girl. All right. We want to thank
Yes.
all of our attendees, our people following in the live chat. We appreciate you guys. Please continue to have
Thank
this
y'all.
conversation and discussion. It's so important. Miss Sierra, we thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time. It's so valuable to us. And we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to come and join us. And that's it. See
Sharing
y'all
her life
later.
on purpose. All right, y'all. Till next
Bye-bye.
time.
All right.
Bye-bye.